getting set up here, I had to really insist I do a little riff here on Carl and Paul as the two young gentlemen here said they got divorced and broke up with an engagement, and they moved in together. All the laws and judicial rulings recently, I thought, oh, well, maybe they switched teams. I was sitting next to one of their female colleagues and I said, oh, did they switch teams? And she said, oh, no. So any of you young females out there, yes, they still are eligible. Any of you young males out there, sorry guys, you're off. It is indeed an honor for me to present this award today. For anyone who's ever done this, you know how challenging it can be to take a very long and rich career and collapse it into a few moments. So I made the decision the best way to do this would be to come from a research point of view, because this is, after all, a research award. So, for example, Jane Erin's CV is 29 pages long. I just threw out a flight 29 pages. I wanted to keep a green environment. It's 7,969 words, according to. I will tell you that Jane is a burger. For anyone in here who does not know what that means, that says that you are not from Pittsburgh. I am from Pittsburgh, and in Pittsburgh, that's a term of endearment. So when you hear Jane Erin is a burger, that means she's a good one. Jane received her bachelor's degree in secondary ed from Edinburgh State College. It's one of the small teachers' colleges out near Erin. In '73, she got her TBI from the University of Pittsburgh. Given that I went to Duane, we always used to call them under the armpit. We were competitive with each other. And in '84, she received her PhD again from the University of Pittsburgh. First 11 years in her career were at the Western Pennsylvania School for the Blind, which is basically across the street, in fact, almost integrated within the campus. After she got her PhD, she went to the University of Texas, working in her TBI program. The Longhorns, is that what it is? And since '94, she's been at the University of Arizona, where she continues her employment as a full professor. In this CV, there are 358 discrete activities. Obviously, I'm not going to list all of them. I've selected a few highlights. Jane is the recipient of 9 awards, not including this one. And with this one, she's got that nice double-digit round number of 10. One of the ones that particularly impressed me was that she received a Distinguished Service Award from the American Optometric Association. The reason that impresses me is because I think as a species we tend to be tribal. And when one tribe, optometrists, recognizes somebody from another tribe, that is not only particularly impressive for Jane, but it's a really great statement for our field. They know we exist, and of course they do need to know that we exist. So thank you for that, Jane, letting them know we exist. Of course, Jane, I'm trying to use my iPad here. I'm trying to be sexy with this, and all of a sudden a bunch of stuff just She received the Mary Kay Bauman Award, which we all know from ABR. And as it turns out, she was listed in the late 90s as an AFB Access Award winner, which is quite interesting. Is that true? Yeah. So she's amongst this group of access winners. I will say to you that extramural activity is Jane's middle name. Now you're thinking, that's kind of a strange middle name. Remember, she's a burger. I went to school with Cletus Spitznagel. So from the burger point of view, Jane, extramural activity, is not such a strange name. A few highlights. At one point in her career, she was the executive in residence at the American Printing House for the Blind. Now, I'm going to be honest because I'm with my friends. I had absolutely no idea what an executive in residence means in APH. And I see Tuck Tinsley sitting out here. Tuck, I'll buy the beer, let's talk. That is a very cool time. Jane has been involved in the development of programs and the development of professionals in some incredibly exotic places. For example, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kingston, Jamaica, Gwangju University, South Korea, Sydney, Australia, and Auckland, New Zealand. Jane is a leader. She's been involved in a certification committee of ADR, and at one point she was the president of the Division for the Vision Impaired, the CEC. Of course, she's had heavy involvement with AFB over the years. She was the very first academic editor-in-chief of JVIB, and she continues as the practice editor of JVIB. She's a member of the editorial advisory board. I would describe her as a scholar, and as an academic, I would say she's an academic's academic. She has been a peer reviewer for all of the major journals. I won't list any of those major journals because you think of one, she's been a peer reviewer for them. But one that particularly caught my interest was the African Journal on Disability. Who knew? Scholarship. Jane is an English major. For me, at least, this explains everything. She authored 3 books, edited 4 books, published 17 chapters, 36 peer-reviewed journal articles, and has 19 what she calls other publications. In terms of scholarly presentations, you think of a national or international conference, and Jane has spoken at it. One of the interesting things in her CV is that she says I counted them, there were 74 presentations. But it says she's only listed them since 1994. Well, she got in the field in 1973, so that's a 20-year gap. Why did she cut those 20 years out? Inquiring minds want to know. Jane and I had a brief communication about what she might specifically highlight on her behalf. And she asked me to mention her chair of the APH Hall of Fame Committee. She honors and recognizes the rich history and the importance of honoring those early pioneers. She also asked me to mention that she has participated as a collaborative author on 5 articles in JVIB on the ABC Braille study. And you all understand the importance of that study, and it's certainly appropriate. And of course, throughout her career, she has been a facilitator of research through her editorship of JVIB, her practice editorship, the innumerable number of PhD students where she either chaired the committee or sat on the committee. In conclusion, when I was editor-in-chief, Natalie Hilton and I would often speak. She was my boss, and Jane's name would come out. And Natalie was famous for saying, you know, I think that Jane Erin is perfect. Well, because this is a research award, I decided to do a little study. So, if the statement is, Jane is perfect, there has to be a null hypothesis. And it is, Jane is not perfect. Now, when you do research, you really need to worry about what's called a type 1 or a type 2 error, which essentially says you came to the wrong conclusion. So I made some a priori decisions about my data set, and I used that 29-page, 7,600 word CV as my data set. The sad part is I will not be able to publish my findings in JVIB. And the reason is because journals typically will not publish a study where you accepted your null hypothesis. Jane Erin is not perfect. I found 1 spelling error. Now, for those of you who know Corinne Kirschner, that is so appropriate. Corinne has this really wonderful history of studying all the funny things that happen when you misspell a word in a sentence. Corinne, don't get excited. It's nothing fun and easy like that. It's really one of those, Jane, what were you thinking kind of words. For example, if it was Kongshu University, I would get that. In fact, to be honest, I had to Google Kongshu. She spelled that correctly. There's a large city in New Zealand. It begins with an A, ends with the word land. Jane Erin left off the letter C. Now, what really pains me is that Word puts squiggly little red lines under things, and so the cue was even there for her to find it. Jane, what were you thinking? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present the Corinne Kirschner Research Award to the person who, for 1 letter, in 1 word, in 1 document, is the closest thing to perfection that I know. Perfect perfection.